My name is Baha Hilo. I was born and raised in the town of Bethlehem, which is about 10 minutes south of Beit al-Maqdis in south of Jerusalem. I was born to a Muslim family that was expelled into Bethlehem from two different parts of Palestine back in 1948. I grew up in a Catholic school because Bethlehem traditionally since the time of Isa alayhi salam has been a Christian town. It's the oldest Christian community we have on the planet. Born to a Muslim family, grew up in a Catholic school, and the soldier between my school and my family's house always identified as a Jewish person. At the time, I thought it's normal to be denied your basic freedom simply because you are born to a Palestinian family. But later stage that I realized that we're mistreated the way we are mistreated because the state of Israel is fascist rather than because we were born. Make sense? I have a degree in sociology, and since the year 2006, I've been working mostly on education on Palestine. One thing I realize is that people are very confused about Palestine. We don't have a clear picture of what is going on. And that confusion is not something that we as individuals are responsible for. The confusion is a result of our interaction with media that have turned Israel's oppression into a debatable matter. Politicians have been always telling us solutions for problems that are irrelevant to us in Palestine, mainly when they talk about 2 states or 3 states or many states solutions. So those are solutions for problems that we don't have. In Palestine, the one thing we were never given a solution for is what the word you heard in the film, which is apartheid, right? So even if you come to recognize Israeli apartheid as apartheid, you will be attacked by politicians and by media. And the third thing, academia. So if you try to study Palestine through books, you will be more confused than you will understand the reality. So what is the reality in Palestine? Even something as simple as referring to the geography of Palestine as Palestine became problematic, right? Media, academia, and politicians suggest that when you look at this map, you as Palestinian would call it Palestine. You as an Israeli defender or beneficiary or supporter of the Israeli criminal behavior, you look at this map and you call it the map of Israel. So Israel and Palestine are not two separate geographies like how it's usually promoted. Malaysia and Thailand are two separate geographies, right? Israel and Palestine are not separate geographies. Israel and Palestine are two different names referring to the exact same geography. So when you are talking about a conflict between Israel and Palestine, you're confusing yourself to begin with, because the question you are asking is a wrong question. So the answer for a wrong question is a wrong answer, right? What is Palestine? Palestine is 27,009 square kilometers area. This map in particular was not taken off a Palestinian resource. It was taken off the website of the Israeli Ministry of Agriculture, showing agriculture activities in Israel. So Israel and Palestine are not two separate geographies once again. What Palestinians believe to be Palestine is the exact geography that Israelis believe to be Israel. The troubles that have been going on in Palestine are essentially happening within this geography, on every inch of this geography. So what has been happening in this place is very simple. If you are born to a Palestinian family on this geography, you are oppression. If you are born to a Jewish family, you are subject to Israeli privilege. So the Israeli government is in control of every inch of the land of Palestine, pretty much how the central government in Malaysia is in control of every inch of Malaysia, right? Their jurisdictions end wherever the borders of neighboring country start, right? In Palestine, Israel's jurisdictions happen everywhere. Now, if you are born to a Jewish family on this land, you are subject to one set of rules. If you are born to a Palestinian family, you are subject to one of 4 Israeli rules, right? So not Palestinians, all Palestinians in Palestine are not mistreated the same way. In the film, they were talking about apartheid. What is apartheid? Apartheid is a crime against the humanity, exactly like genocide and forced population transfer or ethnic cleansing. These are the main three crimes against humanity: genocide, ethnic cleansing, and apartheid. And apartheid as a crime is defined as a crime that takes place when the regime in control creates a system of domination of one group of people over the other for the reason of ethnicity, race, faith, or language. So if you use any of those four elements to provide like supremacy of one group of people who were, let's say, born white, or who would say born to a Christian family, or who would say born to a certain racial group of people, or speak a certain language, if you use those elements as elements of domination, then you as a system or as a state, you are committing the crime of apartheid. So in Palestine, if you are born to a Jewish family, the state of Israel takes the religious aspect, which is Jewish faith, and turns it into an element of domination, or an element of, let's say, a genetic marker. Before the state of Israel, usually you are born, and then at the age of 12 in Islam or in Jewish faith, your faith is decided. In Islam, we say Rufa al-Qalam. In Jewish faith, they say Bar Mitzvah. So that's when you become a responsible human being, aware of their religion. For the state of Israel, you don't need to wait for 12 years. For the state of Israel, the moment you are born, the state of Israel decides how you will be mistreated from the day you are born until the day you die. For example, in this film, they were talking about so-called Arab Israelis, right? Who are the Arab Israelis? Arab Israelis is a term that the state of Israel uses to describe the remaining Palestinians in Palestine. Back in 1947, 48, and 49, 70,000 criminals that were imported from Europe. These are the people we would call like the Jewish gangs, or the Zionist gangs, or the terrorist groups according to the British that were in control of Palestine before 1948. Those 70,000 criminals carried out the first genocide, where they murdered more than 15,000 Palestinians and depopulated nearly 531 Palestinian cities, towns, and villages, and removed everybody from their homes, from their family property, from the place where they lived for generations. Everybody was removed by force, and then they were never allowed back to their homes. Nearly 85% of Palestinian residents of the white area on the map were expelled, and they were never allowed back. Of course, many attempted to go back to their homes, but the founders of the State of Israel, who are those 70,000 criminals, would arrest you if you go back home, would kill you if you go back home, or would deport you if you go back home. So the idea that you're not allowed to go back home was not an idea that occurred just in a second. It occurred over a long period of time. Like the 50s were covered of Palestinian families trying to go back to their places of origin, and then they were murdered by some of the Israeli criminals. So the Palestinians who were expelled are 85% of the residents of the white area. The Palestinians who remained are 15%. So these are the survivors of the first ethnic cleansing of Palestine. They are the survivors of the first genocide in Palestine. They were forced to live under Israeli military rule until the year 1966. And then in 1966, Israel terminated its military rule and then subjected those Palestinian survivors to a civil set of discriminatory rules. So there are 65 laws that are civil laws that maintain a superior status for you if you were born to a Jewish family, a primitive status for you if you were born to a Palestinian family. One of the laws to mention also is a law that was mentioned in the film, when one of the defenders of Israeli criminal behavior in the film says, like, there are 14 members of the Israeli parliament, 14 members of the Israeli Knesset, giving you the impression that there is no racism in Israel. But even the Israeli election law is a racist law, because the state of Israel is not ruled by the will of the people. The state of Israel is ruled by an ideology. Any regime that is ruled by an ideology is not a democracy to begin with. So the ideology of the state of Israel is Jewish nationalism, or what they call Zionism. So in the Israeli election law, there's one line that says, no party is allowed to run for elections if they negate the Zionist Jewish identity of the regime, which means If you stand against the ideology of the State of Israel, you will not be allowed to run for elections. So all the parties that are allowed to run for Israeli elections are parties that are submissive to the Zionist Jewish identity of the regime. So you have to be submissive to Zionist supremacy or Jewish supremacy before you run for elections. But if you want to vote, it's open for everyone, right? No party that calls for equality between people, because as you know, everyone is born free and equal. You are not allowed to run for elections in the State of Israel. But once again, if you do not know the laws, it's very easy for the State of Israel to fool you into believing that the State of Israel is a democracy or the only democracy in the Middle East. If the State of Israel is a democracy, then North Korea is also a democracy. Because remember, there is like elections in North Korea. Like, I think not voting is punishable by death in North Korea. So you can't say, or I mean, you can say whatever you want, but the fact remains that the State of Israel is not a democracy, and that's only if you bring the so-called Arab Israelis or the Palestinian survivors to the picture. That's not the whole thing. The State of Israel makes it intentionally complicated to prevent people from seeing the fact that if you are born to a Palestinian family, you are oppressed and mistreated. If you are born to a Jewish family, your privileges are granted. We have Palestinians in Jerusalem, so-called Arab Israelis. There are 2 million Palestinians. So if you notice this area over here, this is the second set of rules. Nearly 500,000 Palestinians live within what Israel calls Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a small town, 7 square kilometers, but the State of Israel defined Jerusalem to be 73 square kilometers because they wanted to include as many Jewish people within the electoral district of Jerusalem. So we include as many Jewish people as possible. We call for elections. The mayor of Jerusalem is a Jewish Israeli person, right? So Jewish Israelis in Jerusalem are treated the same way as in the rest of Palestine. Palestinians in Jerusalem are stateless. They have no nationality. They are there, being subject to Israeli jurisdictions that aim at removing Palestinians from the old city. And one of the main policies is home demolition. The same state that builds a house for you as a Jewish Israeli person is the same state that sends a bulldozer to destroy your house as a Palestinian person. The difference is that as a Palestinian, you build on your land. The State of Israel steals your family's land and builds on it. So you are not allowed to build on your family's land, but the State of Israel is allowed to build on your family's land once they steal it. Then the third set of rules is what we have in the occupied West Bank. This geography here is called the West Bank of the River Jordan. So there is an ancient river connecting the Sea of Galilee with the Dead Sea, right? This is a very biblical route. We believe Isa alayhi salam, the one who was born in Bethlehem, he walked on the Sea of Galilee. And then he was baptized by Yahya alayhi salam somewhere on the Jordan Valley or in the Jordan River. So it's an ancient, like a lot of biblical stories happen between these two points. The River Jordan separates the East Bank, which is the Kingdom of Jordan, where you live. And then the West Bank is the West Bank of the River Jordan. This territory was ruled by the Kingdom of Jordan between 49 and 67. And then Israel occupied it. And the 3.5 million Palestinians who live in the occupied West Bank who are subject to Israeli military rule. We have 800,000 Jewish Israeli civilians that live within the same territory, imported by the State of Israel to live in Jewish-only communities they call settlements. But once again, if you are born to a Jewish family, you are subject to the same set of rules. Here, Palestinians are subject to a third one, which is military rule. More than 1,600 military orders that cover all aspects of your life. Your movement through those jurisdictions, the State of Israel succeeds in preventing 3.5 million Palestinians in the West Bank from visiting Jerusalem. Like the holiest Muslim site in Palestine is Al-Aqsa, and 3.5 million Palestinians who live in the occupied West Bank are denied freedom of access to Al-Aqsa. The only Palestinians who are allowed freedom of access are Palestinians in Jerusalem and Palestinians in the Arab Israeli communities. But like that access, once again, is conditional. Like the State of Israel in Ramadan managed to shut down access to Al-Aqsa Mosque for Muslims for nearly 40 days. It's the longest since the Crusaders, which is the longest in 1,000 years, where the authority shuts down the second, like the holiest Muslim site for Palestinians in Palestine. Is there any reason why they shut down? It's because they are racist. That's the only reason. Like, why does the State of Israel commit crime? It's because they are criminals. Why does the State of Israel commit apartheid? Because they are criminals. Don't fall for my mistake. Because for me, I used to think like it's because I was born. The State of Israel is mistreating me, right? But no, the State of Israel denies me my freedom because they are criminal, not because of anything that I did. One last one, I want to speak about the worst part in Palestine, which is Gaza. Gaza is the worst of all the forms of control. Gaza is 350 square kilometers area named after the city of Gaza, which is the largest remaining Palestinian city, and this is why it's being attacked. It's home for Palestinian refugees that were expelled into that territory from 240 communities. And it has been turned into a concentration camp of refugees, and refugees are the Palestinians who are robbed by the State of Israel of everything. So when you say Palestinian refugee, you're talking about a person that the State of Israel robbed that person and his family of the land, of the house, of like everything, and threw them into exile, denied them any access to their family property. So those Palestinian refugees are the ones that have the biggest problem with the State of Israel, because the state robbed them of everything. So what the State of Israel wants is to rob you of everything and expect your submission. So in Gaza, like less than 1% of the population of Gaza are involved in military struggle against the State of Israel. So you have 99% of the population not involved in military struggle. So the State of Israel wants 100% of the population to be submissive rather than 99%. So even if there was one Palestinian who objects to Israeli criminal behavior standing in Gaza, the State of Israel wants those Palestinians dead. So the State of Israel for the third year now is going into an ongoing genocide. It's the second genocide that we witnessed within 80 years. And the conditions of the genocide are still in place. So many people think like genocide in Gaza is over. Genocide in Gaza will be finished when Palestinians are finished. Why do I say this? It's because the State of Israel over the past 70 plus years have been committing a crime after a crime after a crime against Palestinians and have been getting away with that criminal behavior. So up until today, there has not been serious attempts from like neighboring countries or international community to hold the State of Israel responsible for its criminal behavior against Palestinians. That doesn't mean we should stop joining Palestinian quest for struggle for justice and freedom and so on. Those explicit or complicit countries are being exposed as allies of the State of Israel in their criminal behavior towards Palestinians.